Welcome to Japan's greatest unsolved heist. It was a crime so flawlessly executed, so meticulously planned, that even today, over half a century later, it remains one of Japan's greatest unsolved mysteries. A young man, disguised as a police officer, single-handedly tricked 4 trained security guards, stole a staggering 300 million yen, and vanished without a trace. Who was he? A mastermind criminal, a rogue cop, or something even more wicked? Despite one of the most extensive police investigations in history, the 300 million yen robbery remains an enigma. Every clue led to a dead end. Every suspect walked free. And now a modern-day tour of the crime scene is oversubscribed, proving that Japan has still not forgotten. Today, we unravel the mystery, expose the brilliant deception, and ask, how did the world's most elusive thief disappear forever? How did one man outsmart 170,000 policemen? A single man, a uniformed officer, a perfectly executed lie. On a crisp December morning in 1968, Japan witnessed one of the most brilliantly orchestrated heists in history. A lone motorcyclist, dressed as a Tokyo police officer, single-handedly stole 300 million yen, a fortune at the time, without firing a single shot. No guns, no threats, just deception. It has been over 50 years, and yet the case remains unsolved. No suspect, no trace, no justice. But who was this mysterious phantom rider? Was he a police officer, a criminal mastermind, or something far more sinister? This is the story of the 300 million yen robbery, Japan's greatest unsolved heist. December 10, 1968. The streets of Fuchu, Tokyo, were quiet. But inside a heavily secured vehicle, 4 bank employees of Nihon Shintaku Ginko carried an astronomical sum, 300 million yen in winter bonuses for Toshiba's factory workers. As the car approached the city, a motorcycle officer signaled them to stop. His uniform was crisp, his demeanor commanding. He delivered a shocking announcement. "Your branch manager's home has just been blown up. We've received an urgent tip. Your vehicle has been rigged with dynamite." Panic set in. The bank employees, shaken, obeyed his orders as he crawled underneath the vehicle, searching for the supposed bomb. All of a sudden, a panicking voice said, "Smoke!" The guards recoiled in terror as the officer rolled out from beneath the car, screaming, "It's going to explode!" In sheer panic, the bank employees fled for their lives, and at that exact moment, the thief calmly stepped into the car and drove away. No chaos, no bloodshed, just a perfect illusion. What followed was one of the most intense manhunts in Japanese history. Over 170,000 police officers were deployed. Investigators combed through 110,000 names, 780,000 sketches, and more than 120 pieces of evidence left behind at the scene. And yet, they found nothing. Among the evidence was the very police motorcycle the thief had used. But the so-called clues, the flares, the fake uniform, the forged police documents, were later discovered to be deliberately planted to throw the investigation off. Who was this man? A ghost? A cop? Or someone far more dangerous? The most disturbing theory suggests he wasn't just impersonating a police officer, he was one. Some speculate he was the son of a serving officer, using insider knowledge of police protocols to execute the perfect con. Others believe he may have been part of a larger criminal syndicate, a prodigy of deception who vanished into the underworld. And then, there's the darkest theory of all, that he was silenced. The money was never recovered. The culprit never resurfaced. Did he meet a violent end at the hands of someone more powerful? Or did he pull off the perfect crime and simply disappear? Even today, tours of the crime's key locations remain massively oversubscribed, as if people are still searching for an answer that will never come. And as the decades pass, one truth becomes clear. If the real thief hasn't been caught by now, he never will be. Was the truth buried with a dead man? What happens when a thief gets away with the perfect crime? For most criminals, the fear of capture lingers. Justice, like a shadow, is never far behind. But in the case of Japan's greatest unsolved heist, the thief didn't just escape, he vanished. For 7 years, the police chased ghosts, thousands of suspects, hundreds of dead ends, but when the statute of limitations expired in 1975, the case took an even darker turn. Now the thief could step forward without fear of prosecution, and yet no one ever did. One name emerged from the chaos, a 19-year-old man, the son of a serving police officer. Investigators believed he fit the profile perfectly. He had insider knowledge of police tactics, access to a real uniform, and the ability to evade capture with precision. But then, he was found dead. Before the police could extract a confession, the young man ended his own life, taking his secrets to the grave. Case closed? Not quite. In a bizarre twist, his death didn't confirm his guilt, it ruled him out. With no concrete evidence tying him to the crime, police were forced to dismiss him as a suspect. Another prime suspect was brought in, but he had a rock-solid alibi. He was sitting in an examination hall at the exact moment of the heist. Then came the third suspect, a man who outright refused to cooperate with the police. His silence was deafening, but without evidence, there was nothing the authorities could do. And just like that, the trail went cold. The mystery only deepened when new theories surfaced. Some claimed the thief had inside connections to the bank itself, perhaps an employee who knew the route, security measures, and transport procedures. But one of the most chilling suggestions came from Makoto Watanabe, an expert in media and criminal psychology. His theory suggested that the thief wasn't just any police officer. He was the son of someone powerful, a high-ranking politician's child, protected from exposure to avoid a national scandal. If this was true, it meant that the Phantom Rider wasn't just lucky, he was untouchable. Others suggest the thief wasn't in Japan at all. Watanabe also pointed out an intriguing possibility. The mastermind behind the heist had connections to the US military. The money could have been smuggled out of Japan entirely, leaving behind nothing but speculation and dead ends. A ghost crime, a ghost thief. In the 1980s, an investigative reporter with the Shukan Heisei news magazine claimed he had found the real culprit. His name? Yuji Ogata. Ogata supposedly confessed to the heist and detailed how he outmaneuvered the largest police dragnet in Japanese history. For a moment, it seemed like the case was solved. But then, his family exposed the lie. Not only was Ogata deeply in debt, but after the robbery, he had borrowed money from his own relatives just to survive. A man who had just stolen 300 million yen begging for cash? Impossible. Ogata, it turned out, was just a compulsive liar, desperate for attention. And so the mystery endured. The failure of the police to capture the Phantom Rider has only made the case more legendary. Even today, in Tokyo's darkest alleys, tour guides lead oversubscribed excursions through the key locations of the heist. Every tour is 8 times overbooked. 50 years later, the world is still obsessed with a crime that had no face, no fingerprints, and no ending. By 1988, the statute of civil liabilities expired, meaning not only could the thief never be arrested, but he could now publicly admit his crime without consequence. But still, no one stepped forward. Was the Phantom Rider long dead, or was he watching the chaos he created from a distance? The audacity of the crime was impressive back in 1968. It remains just as shocking today. A crime so perfect that it left no suspects, no evidence, no arrests. A man who could confess without consequence, but never did. A mystery so intriguing that it still haunts Japan to this day. Who was he? Where did he go? Did he survive? One thing is certain, the Phantom Rider was real, but his identity will remain a ghost story forever. The greatest crimes are the ones we never solve, and the 300 million yen robbery remains one of the most brilliant, baffling, and mysterious heists in history. Was he a criminal genius, a former cop, or something even more sinister? Tell us your theories in the comments. And for more deep dives into unsolved crimes, chilling mysteries, and mind-bending conspiracies, subscribe to Mystery Media, because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction.